I had always believed that moving out of the cramped human colonies on Mars was going to be the start of a new, quieter life. The small city was overcrowded, industrial fumes hung in the air, and every apartment felt like a steel coffin with a view of smog. When I saw the listing for the affordable housing unit on Zanara 7, I thought I had stumbled on a miracle. It was cheap, ridiculously cheap, but it came with a disclaimer that barely registered when I skimmed the ad. Close to all amenities. Caution: unique neighbors. At first, I assumed unique neighbors meant eccentric humans or maybe a family of alien merchants who wore vibrant robes or strange hats. I didn't expect what greeted me when I stepped off the hover tram and approached my new home. The house was modest, a two-story structure of shimmering alloy with a faint organic sheen that seemed alive under the twin suns. Its cheapness wasn't in the structure. The house itself was pristine. It was the surroundings. Two figures emerged from the neighboring property, tall, lanky beings with skin like liquid crystal, glimmering faintly in the sunlight. Their bodies were sleek and elongated, with no clothing, no covering at all. I froze. I stammered, realizing too late that I had no proper greeting prepared for naked alien neighbors. They paused, turning to face me, and then both tilted their heads in unison, eyes shining with curiosity. Their bodies pulsed faintly with luminescent patterns, subtle yet mesmerizing. "You are new," the taller one said, their voice melodic but sharp in my translator.
"Yes."
I just moved in next door," I replied, nervously adjusting my shirt as if it would somehow hide me from them. "Interesting," the second said, a softer tone, eyes flashing in patterns that, according to my translator, indicated amusement. "Few humans survive long here. They complain about the light, the winds, the freedom." I swallowed hard. I don't mind freedom." They both tilted their heads, silent, as though they were debating whether I was fit to live among them. I had a growing sense that in their eyes, humans were delicate, fragile creatures, probably incapable of surviving in this environment for more than a month. "Well, welcome, my guess," I mumbled. "I'm Liam." The taller one extended a hand, the gesture universal enough to be understood. I shook it carefully, still uneasy about the tactile exchange. Their touch was cool, almost ethereal, and for a moment I felt like my body was a mere shadow against their vibrant energy. "Liam," they said. "I am Vera, and this is Silen." I nodded, unsure how to respond to the pair of naked, luminescent beings who now felt less like neighbors and more like aliens from a dream I didn't want to wake up from. That night, I unpacked my few belongings, trying to ignore the curiosity that gnawed at me. The walls of the house were semi-organic, subtly shifting, breathing in sync with the faint pulse of the planet itself. I had expected advanced alien technology, sure, but living next to it? That was something I hadn't anticipated. The next morning, I stepped outside, determined to meet my neighbors in a more civil context. Maybe exchange pleasantries over a cup of synth coffee or something human. I didn't get that chance. Vera and Silen were outside, literally hovering a few inches above the ground, in a synchronized motion I could barely comprehend. Their bodies shimmered in the morning sun. "Good morning," I said cautiously. "Good morning, human," Vera replied, eyes flicking over me, analyzing every detail of my human form. "You wear layers."
"Yes."
"It's how humans function," I said, gesturing at my modest outfit. "It's a cultural thing." They exchanged a glance, silent, untranslatable, and then Silen floated closer. "Why cover? It inhibits your energy flow. You appeared constrained." I laughed nervously. "Well, humans are not used to exposing themselves. It's safe, I guess." "Safe," That word seemed almost foreign to them. Both tilted their heads, studying me as if I had declared my life's most terrible secret. Over the next few days, I learned more about my neighbors than I ever wanted. Vera and Silen had no concept of clothing beyond decorative patterns projected from their skin. They lived in a state of perfect openness, attuned to each other and the world around them. The air itself seemed to vibrate in response to their movements, and they expected me to adapt. At first, I resisted. I put up curtains, I wore more layers than necessary, and I avoided direct interaction. But my neighbors were relentless in their attempts to acclimate me. They would show up in my yard, hovering gently, their luminescent bodies radiating soft pulses meant to encourage relaxation, openness, even surrender to the environment. "Why are you always so tense?" Silen asked one evening. The suns had set, and the twin moons cast long shadows across our yards. "Your body is stiff. You will harm yourself." "I'm fine," I mumbled, rubbing my arms. "I'm just human." Vera floated closer, a curious glow pulsing from her chest. "You humans resist what is natural. It is fascinating. Fragile, yet enduring. Fragile, yet enduring." That struck a chord. I realized that despite my discomfort, I had survived in more hostile environments than this. Humans had adapted for centuries to everything the universe could throw at us. And maybe, just maybe, my neighbors would have to understand that humans were resilient in ways even the most advanced alien species might not anticipate. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. It was a particularly sweltering day. One of the twin suns was low, casting golden heat across the land. I had finished my morning exercise, stripped to a tank top and shorts for practicality, and stepped into my yard to catch a breath. Vera and Silen appeared almost immediately, hovering silently. Vera extended a hand. "Your body is more comfortable like this. We can see your energy more clearly." Right," I stammered. "I suppose I could, try to adapt a little." For the next several hours, they guided me through a strange ritual of energy alignment. Their glowing forms moved in intricate patterns around me, teaching me to attune to the pulse of the planet and the rhythm of their bodies. Slowly, hesitantly, I felt a connection, not just to them, but to the environment itself. By nightfall, something extraordinary happened. I realized I could anticipate their movements, feel their energy fluctuations, even predict their gestures before they occurred. The discomfort, the awkwardness, the embarrassment, it all melted away. I was no longer the fragile human they might have underestimated. I was a participant in their world, attuned to the subtle energies that defined life on Zanara 7. And they, in turn, began to treat me differently. No longer as an outsider, but as an equal. Weeks passed. I learned the names of plants, currents, and winds that humans couldn't detect. Vera and Silen taught me to read the subtle flashes of color in alien flora and fauna, to communicate without words, to anticipate environmental hazards. In return, I shared human problem-solving techniques, building devices to purify water, generate energy, and monitor weather, things their instinct-driven society had never formalized. One evening, as the moons rose high, Vera approached me with a faint smile, her luminescent skin glowing softly. "Human," she said, "you have changed. You were fragile, yet you endure. You were restrained, yet you adapted. You belong here." I laughed softly, unsure how to respond. I guess humans do have a way of surviving anywhere. Silen hovered closer.
"Yes."
"And now you are no longer merely an observer. You are part of this household, this environment, this world. You are trusted." In that moment, I understood the truth of my neighbor's culture. Clothing, layers, modesty. They were irrelevant in the grand scheme of life on Zanara 7. Survival, trust, and attunement mattered more. And humans, despite our apparent weaknesses, had a unique strength: ingenuity, adaptability, and the ability to integrate into alien societies without losing ourselves. Months later, the cheap house no longer seemed cheap at all. It had been a gateway to a world I could never have imagined, a place where I had earned respect not through power or dominance, but through patience, courage, and adaptability. Vera and Silen had become friends, teachers, and allies, showing me a universe I would have never understood from behind human walls. And in that strange, naked, luminescent society, I learned something extraordinary. Being human didn't mean being weak. It meant being capable of growth, adaptation, and respect across the cosmos. I sometimes laugh when I tell people how cheap my house was. They assume I mean the price. But the truth is far stranger. It was cheap because the universe itself had chosen me, not for my wealth, my power, or my courage alone, but for my capacity to adapt, survive, and thrive among beings who defied every human expectation. And as I stand on the balcony of my home, watching the twin suns set behind the glowing mountains, Vera and Silen hovering in the distance, I finally understand. The house was cheap because its value couldn't be measured in credits or currency. Its worth was measured in experience, growth, and the bond between humans and aliens. The aliens next door might not wear clothes, might defy human sensibilities, and might seem impossible to understand, but they had taught me something more valuable than any treasure or technology in the galaxy: that humanity's greatest power lies not in strength, but in the ability to adapt, connect, and endure. And in that realization, I found my place, not just in the cheap house, not just in the alien neighborhood, but in the galaxy itself.